Hey, so let's get stuck into Block Breaker. It's going to look something like this by the time we've finished. What are we going to do in this lecture? Well, let's take a look. We're going to research the brick sizes, plan our game space. We're going to find an appropriate image, edit up our sprites, and then create a new Unity project and import our 3 sprites. Our whole brick, and then we're also going to have a left-hand brick and a right-hand brick. If we look at a picture of a brick wall, what do we get? I'm going to go for images. I'm going to go for search tools, labeled for reuse with modification, and then look at one of these images. So that is entirely whole bricks. That's obviously an insulated double-skinned wall. But if you look at old-fashioned walls like this, then they have whole bricks and half bricks. This one over here may be a better example. Whole brick, half brick, whole brick, half brick. And these half bricks are actually laying side on. We're going to want both of these because if you want to build any sort of wall, actually, you need half bricks because otherwise, had you finish it, you don't want to stack whole bricks on top of each other. It's not as strong. So we're going to need some half bricks. So our mission is to make whole bricks and half bricks, decide what size we want them and how big our game space is going to be. So let's take a look at some examples of like previous Arkanoid games. How many blocks wide are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think that's going to be 16 or 15 blocks wide in that example. Let's look at a different one. This one here will do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's going to be 15 blocks wide. So 15 or 16 blocks wide is quite nice as far as I'm concerned. So finding the right image. A typical Arkanoid had about 14, 15, 16 blocks. There's a Wikipedia article on brick images if you care. You can look up brick sizes on Wikipedia and find out what countries have different brick sizes. I'm going to plump for about an aspect ratio of 128 by 40 pixels. So it gives me 3.2 aspect ratio. And it turns out that if you go 128 pixels wide, then 16 blocks wide is the same as an iPad Air screen 2048. There's a little star there because actually I'm going to need 128 by 41 or it doesn't work properly in the grid system when we get to Unity. So your mission is to go to Google, type in brick wall, and then look for a appropriate brick wall image. Now what's an appropriate image? Well, I said that on the next slide actually. I've used Google Images, I've filtered for reuse with modification, and I'm looking for a brick that has some texture, that is even and that is taken from straight on, and then I'm going to crop that out to 128 by 41. So let's take a look. This wall is even. It's taken from pretty much straight on, although to my eye it's going downhill. It is going downhill to the left, so that's not ideal. But it's got no texture. The bricks have no texture, so they're rubbish. These ones, plenty of texture, plenty of character, but they're too uneven to work in a grid system. This one here, probably going to work. That type of thing would be fine. So if that one's going to work, let me show you how I'd be doing it. View the image and save it somewhere. That's fine. Now, when you open that image, I'm just using preview on a Mac. It's going to come up like this. And what I've done is I've just zoomed in, found a brick that's fairly even and got some texture, and chopped it out like so, taking about half the mortar on either side, top and bottom, and then cropping the brick out like so. So that's stage one. The next stage is to desaturate the brick. So whatever tool you're using, turn the saturation right down so that you can recolor the brick very easily in the program later. And now it's just too dark. We want a light brick, so turn your exposure up with the appropriate contrast so there's not too much detail, that's too much texture, and that's too little texture. So you get some middle amount of texture. And then you might want to fiddle with the image a little bit so the mortar around the outside is a little more clear. Here we've got a shadow which looks funny. So I've done this already and I've come up with this full brick pattern for me, which seems to tessellate well with other bricks. The mortar isn't perfect white, and that's good. It makes it look more natural. But it's got pretty clear mortar around the edges, and it's precisely, size-wise, 128 wide by 41 high. Excuse the weird 41. Why 41 instead of 40? I actually don't know why that works out. When I was aiming for 128 divided by 40, which gives you a nice even 3.2 aspect ratio. You'll see why that matters in Unity later. For some reason we need an extra pixel. So for the sharp students, Maybe when we get to that bit, you can write on the discussions and tell me why. I don't know why. So the next thing we need to do once we've got an entire brick like this, a whole brick, is, let's just look at the slides. So we desaturate it so it can change its color later. We have. The texture makes the bricks look better. You'll see that when we get them into Unity. We want to create new images for left and right bricks. So I showed you left and right bricks. Let's now show you how we do new images for those. So what I've done is I've just cropped precisely 64 by 41 pixels, there, half of it, copy that, and make a new image from the clipboard. And what you get here is something that's nearly what we need. That's nearly a right brick. The problem is if you put this right brick against another brick, it's going to look horrible because it's got no mortar on the left. So a very easy way to get mortar on the left is to copy the mortar that's already there, 2 pixels of it, just 2 pixels. Copy and paste it back onto the image and then just put it on the left-hand side. And that actually works out really well. That is now a pretty good right-hand half brick. So what I want you to do is save yourself a right-hand half brick, that's my one, and a left-hand half brick, and a full brick. So the full brick's 128 by 41. Obviously the left brick is 64 by 41, and the right brick would be the same dimensions. So save all 3 of those, which is a great start, and ensure the mortar looks half decent. You can always adjust these later, okay? So you don't have to get these looking right just now. How do you know what looking right means until you start placing blocks next to each other? So don't stress, just get your first version of your images, and then once they're in Unity, you can adjust them very easily and they will instantly update. So next we're going to create a new project and import our bricks. So we're going to go into Unity. Here's a challenge for you. Just go into Unity, create a new project, call it Block Breaker. And then I want you to import all 3 bricked images into a folder called Sprites. And then save your scene as level 01 in Scenes. So go ahead and do what's on the screen now. Pause the video and come back when you've done that. And I'll show you how I did it. Alright, none of this is rocket science. Let's get over to Unity. If you're anything like me, you'll still have Number Wizard UI open. You may not. Doesn't matter. Point is we're going to create a new project. It's a 2D project. We decide where we want it. In my case, in my repositories, I'm going to create a new folder called Block Breaker. This will then go at the same level as all of these. I'm selected on repositories, calling it Block Breaker, and it'll go at this level. No packages, 2D, create project. Unity will restart. Fantastic. Now, I want to go and get my images. So where are they? They, in my case, are in my Finder. And it's a good question. You will find them from the downloads. I have them in my prototype here, Sprites. And I want the right brick, the left brick, and the full brick. And I want to bring those into Unity. Fine, then you are going to create yourself a folder, call it Sprites. Pop them in to be neat from the beginning. Make a new folder. I call mine _scenes. Because scenes is a folder we're going to access very frequently, and scenes, sprites and scripts end up looking so similar that this is a great way of keeping them separate. Final thing to do is just save, because at the moment we have an untitled scene, so you save, file and save. What are we going to call it? Well, I'm going to call mine level 01, the first level. Very final thing is you put level 01 into the scenes folder, and there we go. We have scenes with level 01 in it. We have sprites with our 3 sprites in it, our whole brick, our left brick, and our right brick. And we're good to go. We can save the scene. It's already done. Save the project if we like. And we're in good shape. So congratulations. You have done everything that we needed to do, and we are ready to start building blocks.